Hey guys, welcome to my channel Miss Recap. Megamind is a criminal genius who lives in Metrocity and, in recent years, has devoted all his intelligence to doing evil. The only superhero strong enough to defeat him was Man, but Megamind used a satellite to blow him up and now he lives bored because he has no powerful enemy to fight. To try to solve this problem, the alien decided to create a new superhero to fight against him. But Titan soon realized that it was much more fun to be a villain and became an even more evil person than his creator. While Titan was destroying the city, Megamind came to the conclusion that he needed to save the people, and that's when he realized that his destiny was not to be a supervillain, but a superhero. One night, the Go Fish Gang breaks into the city's fish museum to steal an extremely rare carp, because they know it's worth a lot of money if it's sold on the illegal market. However, the trio is interrupted by the arrival of Megamind and Chum, his assistant, who is a fish living in a robot suit. In an attempt to defeat them, one of the criminals throws a sword shark at the pair, but it ends up hitting the glass of the aquarium and a huge great white shark manages to escape. To stop the attack, Megamind uses his laser gun to trap the fish in a small cube and goes after the gang, who have managed to escape. During the chase, the alien and his assistant are attacked by a gust of water and thrown far away. Seeing the tank heading in his direction, Megamind decides to throw the cube into it and then uses a water bottle to free the white shark that was trapped. While being attacked by the animal, the gang loses control of the vehicle and is about to run over innocent people when the alien uses its bazooka to create a portal and transport the vehicle to another part of the city. After handing the criminals over to the police, Megamind brags about being an excellent superhero, and Chum is saddened by not receiving any recognition from his boss. While reporting on the attempted robbery thwarted by Megamind, Roxanne feels bad that she's not doing anything really useful with her life and begins to realize that she's frustrated with her job. Just then, Keiko, the president of the biggest online Megamind fan club, approaches and starts interviewing the journalist. While talking to the teenager, Roxanne discovers that the audience that follows her on the internet is 10 times larger than the number of people who watch her on TV, and she feels even worse. That day, Megamind is presented with the key to the city by the mayor, who thanks him for protecting the residents. Before giving his speech in front of a large audience, the alien throws the key at Chum, and the fish, once again, is saddened to be treated only as an assistant, as he believed he was his boss's friend. When he meets Roxanne, Chum decides to let off steam and the woman advises him to talk to Megamind, so that he understands that the fish is much more than just a helper. At the end of his speech, the alien is approached by Keiko and, after introducing herself, the girl asks if she can be part of her favorite superheroes team, but Megamind says he works alone and gives Keiko a light grenade as a gift. Before returning home, Chum has the chance to talk to his boss and spends all the speech he has prepared in vain, because Megamind doesn't pay any attention to what he has to say. So the fish decides to go his own way and explore other possibilities for growth, then says a friendly goodbye to his boss and leaves. Meanwhile, a league of supervillains forms on the other side of the city and decides to pay Megamind a visit to find out why he abandoned the world of crime. The only thing stopping them from going after the traitor is the fact that they are being held in a penitentiary with dozens of other criminals. So, in order to put their plan into practice, the group needs to escape and decides to use their superpowers to defeat the guards. After destroying the control panel, Behemoth manages to open the doors so that the Doom Syndicate can escape. While driving her van, Roxanne reflects on living a meaningless life when suddenly a hologram of Megamind appears. The alien asks the woman to go to his hideout immediately, as he needs help to solve something extremely important. Minutes later, Roxanne arrives at the mansion and rushes into the kitchen, only to discover that the urgent matter her friend needs to resolve is learning how to use the toaster. At that moment, the mansion's alarm goes off, but Megamind walks calmly to the door, believing that it is Chum who is returning home. However, when he leaves the mansion, he discovers that his house is surrounded by his old team of supervillains and he pretends to be happy about the visit. But the truth is that Megamind is terrified, because now the villains know that their former leader has betrayed them and become the defender of Metrocity. What he doesn't realize is that, in reality, the Doom Syndicate believes his boss is only pretending to be a superhero in order to fool the whole city. Just then, Roxanne appears and Lady Doppler asks why the journalist is at the mansion. To prevent the woman from being eliminated, Megamind tells her that she is his fiancée, and, when they are alone again, Roxanne asks why the alien hasn't told her the truth. The Blue Man then reveals that if he finds out the truth, the Syndicate will revolt against him and Megamind won't be able to defeat the 4 supervillains on his own. During the conversation, the woman discovers that it was the alien who founded the Doom Syndicate and recruited the city's worst villains to join him. However, it wasn't long before Megamind discovered that he didn't like sharing the spotlight and decided to abandon it with the excuse that he was working on an evil project to rule Metrocity. Now his plan is to keep this lie going until he can think of a way to get rid of the syndicate once and for all. Knowing that this is the smartest strategy to follow, Roxanne decides to support him. Since they've been imprisoned for a few weeks, the villains decide to go out into the city spreading chaos, as they say they miss their life of crime. At this point, Megamind asks Roxanne to report the situation to the mayor and says that he will try to stop the Doom Syndicate from destroying the city. Since he can't blow his cover as a supervillain, the alien tries to pretend that he supports the destruction caused by his former team, but the truth is that he is sending his robot workers to restore the city and undo all the damage. Seeing the supervillains at work, Keiko turns on her cell phone camera and starts filming the attack. At that moment, the young woman is almost crushed by a screen, but Megamind manages to save her. Before leaving, he advises the girl to go home and goes after the quartet, who are about to rob a bank. Megamind tries to convince them that this is a bad idea, but soon realizes that the syndicate will raid the bank anyway. So the alien says he'll surrender the civilians and goes in first, because that's the only way to make sure no one gets hurt. When she realizes that her favorite superhero is in trouble, Keiko decides to help him and says that it's just a simulation. The real purpose is to show citizens what they should do if a real villain breaks into the bank. Upon hearing this, the manager and the customers become calmer and raise their hands while Keiko records the robbery. That night, as he goes to bed, Megamind begins to be tormented by the idea that, sooner or later, the members of the syndicate will discover that he is lying. Unlike Chum, none of his other partners supported his decision to become a superhero, and, when he realizes this, Megamind realizes that his fish friend deserved to be valued more. When he closes his eyes, the alien hears loud music coming from outside and decides to go outside to investigate what is going on. When he leaves home, he comes across a party and discovers that the villains have decided to hold a farewell event for Metrocity, as the city will soon be destroyed. Unaware of the reason for the celebration, dozens of criminals have accepted the invitation to join the party and are happily celebrating without even realizing that Metrocity is being sentenced. A few minutes later, the Go Fish gang shows up and Megamind knows that if they tell them who captured them, the Doom Syndicate will find out the truth. To prevent this from happening, the alien decides to become the center of attention in order to prevent the guests from hearing what the gang has to say. When the trio run towards the Blue Man to try and catch him, he lures one of his enemies away from the ballroom and manages to capture him with his shrinking ray. Megamind then goes after the other two gang members and manages to turn them into small cubes before they reach the microphone. Meanwhile, Chum is working as a cleaner in a cafeteria, as this was the first job he got. In the morning, Megamind receives a visit from Roxanne and reveals that he still hasn't come up with a strategy to get rid of the syndicate. Then the four villains appear and the alien is forced to present the evil plan he promised he would create to wipe out the city. Through a holographic projection, he explains how he plans to send Metrocity to the moon, and his former team is enthusiastic about the idea. To do this, the group will need to dock a giant rocket under the city. But Megamind reveals that he has already provided all the necessary equipment. Excited by the idea of launching the city into space, Lady Doppler suggests that they start the plan as soon as possible, but Megamind claims to have forgotten the password needed to enter the control room. Furious, the villain says that her boss has changed since the syndicate got out of jail and guarantees that if the launch isn't started by the end of the day, she and her colleagues will destroy the city. Not knowing how to deal with this threatening situation on his own, Megamind decides to enlist the help of his faithful squire and goes after Chum. To his surprise, the fish is being very successful at his job and, thanks to him, the snack bar has gained dozens of new customers. The place has become so popular that customers have to make a reservation to get in. As his name is not on the list, Megamind ends up being barred at the door and is prevented from talking to his friend. Once again, however, Keiko shows up to help him and uses a cockroach to get rid of the receptionist. The alien then manages to get into the store and discovers that Chum is very happy with his new boss. Not wanting to get in the way of his old friend's happiness, Megamind decides to leave and stop the Doom Syndicate on his own. When he gets home, he finds the villains watching TV and invites them to take a photo of the whole team, as this will be their last day on Earth. However, instead of recording that moment, Megamind imprisons the villains in a cell surrounded by lasers and intends to take them back to prison. Now that his enemies are prevented from acting, the alien decides to tell the truth and reveals that he has decided to abandon villainy to become a superhero. When she hears this, Lady Doppler is furious, because she realized from the start that something was wrong, but she completely ignored her instincts. Just then, the prison created by the robot breaks down and the villains manage to break free. Scared, Megamind starts to sweat nervously and, when a drop of sweat falls on the cubes attached to his belt, the members of the Fishgo gang appear. Immediately, they confirm that the alien has indeed become a superhero, so Behemoth attacks him. After being struck by the stone monster, Megamind is captured by Nighty Night, but manages to escape with the help of a lantern. He ends up being hypnotized by Pierre, and Lady Doppler uses her climb control powers to throw her former boss into a chair. Luckily, that seat has jet propellers and the alien manages to escape before his enemies can capture him. Lady Doppler immediately goes after Megamind and sends some rays to destroy him. After the explosion, she joins the rest of the team with the aim of launching the city into space. What none of the criminals realize is that Megamind is still alive, having jumped into the ocean before the explosion. Minutes later, he is found by Roxanne and Keiko and reveals that he has given up fighting. The superhero has come to the conclusion that he is unable to defeat the Doom Syndicate, and all that remains for him now is to live as a beggar in disguise so that the villains don't find him. However, the journalist manages to convince him that, with Chum's help, he will be able to save the city, so Megamind stands up, determined to beg for his friend's forgiveness. What he doesn't realize is that Keiko has already taken the trouble to take Chum there, and the fish says he's ready to go back to work with his old boss. This time, instead of treating Chum as his assistant, Megamind offers him the job of crime-fighting partner, and the fish manages to fulfill his big dream. Meanwhile, the Doom Syndicate is trying unsuccessfully to destroy the control room security door, which is coated in titanium. Before taking action, Megamind and his friends think of a plan to enter the mansion without being eliminated by their enemies, and for this they will need Keiko's help. The girl immediately agrees to take part in the mission, but on the condition that Megamind will train her to be a crime fighter. After registering the agreement made with the alien, the young woman accompanies the team to the supermarket, where they buy all the items they need to put their plan into practice. When the syndicate finally manages to break down the door, the alien broadcasts live, and everyone is surprised to discover that he is not eliminated. Furious, Lady Doppler and her colleagues go after the couple while Chum and Keiko use an alternative passage to try to reach the control room. As soon as it enters the tunnel, the fish is greeted by numerous weapons, which have been deployed to ensure the security of the place. When he was about to be shot, he went into hiding and the weapons ended up destroying each other. Then some brainbots appear and chase Chum, who has to run away to avoid being eliminated. When they arrive outside the mansion, the villains are met by Roxanne and Megamind, who use a tennis ball throwing machine to attack them. After being captured by giant tentacles, Chum is about to be eliminated by the brainbots and needs to eject from his robot suit before being hit by their shots. Now that it no longer has its body to help it move, the fish crawls along the pipe until it reaches the control room. He is about to stop the launch when the Go Fish Gang shows up, and Chum is prevented from going ahead with his plan. At that moment, the ground beneath the city begins to crack and a barrier is created to trap the people inside. When Monstrosity begins to take off, Roxanne tries to calm the inhabitants and enlists the help of Keiko to reassure everyone. After asking residents to return to their homes, she contacts the authorities to ensure people's safety until the crisis is resolved. During the launch, Chum has no choice but to confront the criminals and manages to defeat them. However, after interrupting the takeoff, Monstrosity begins to descend at high speed and, if nothing is done, everyone will end up being eliminated. To prevent this from happening, the fish needs to access the hand control, but it is too weak to stand up. In an attempt to save his friend, Megamind sends a robot parrot to help him hydrate and then uses a disguise generator to alter Nighty Night's appearance. Believing him to be his enemy, Pierre uses his powers to hypnotize him and ends up falling into Megamind's ambush. At that moment, the superhero is attacked by Lady Doppler and uses the woman's powers to electrocute her. Finally, he has to get rid of Behemoth, the strongest and most crazy member of the team. Luckily, just as the alien was about to be eliminated, Roxanne appears in the fire truck and crushes the creature. When the couple believe they have gotten rid of all their enemies, Nighty Night gets up and prepares to attack them, but is interrupted by Keiko, who uses the light grenade to get rid of the enemy. Now that there are no more obstacles in the way, the group rushes back to the mansion to meet Chum. The fish is trying to pull the lever that will make the city land safely, but his little arms aren't strong enough. Luckily, his friends arrive in time and together they all manage to pull the lever. When Monstrosity returns to Earth, the group is relieved and the mayor shows up to settle accounts with Megamind. He blames the alien for everything bad that has happened to the city. But Roxanne reminds the old man that he was hiding during the Doom Syndicate attack while she and her friends risked their lives to save Monstrosity. After being confronted by the journalist, the mayor has no choice but to leave, because he knows she is telling the truth. A few months later, the elections came and Roxanne decided to run for office. Thanks to her leadership during the attack that almost took the town to the moon, the woman gained a lot of popularity and was elected as the town's new mayor. Together with Megamind and her team of superheroes, the woman takes it upon herself to protect the inhabitants of Monstrosity from any threat. Meanwhile, the members of the Doom Syndicate, who have been sent back to jail, receive an unexpected visit and discover that they have just gained a new leader. The movie ends here. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notification so you can watch more videos like this.